right. This is another riveting episode of High Impact Reading Challenge, where you are encouraged to be yourself, run wild, take leaps, and read like a beast. People are still joining. So today's book discussion is on Leading Quietly by Joseph Badaracco Jr. Probably saying that wrong. We are going to do
Never know if you
quick
are.
introductions. Then we'll do round robin on our feelings on the book and our takeaways. And then just any open comments after that. And then we'll talk about our next book very briefly. We mentioned already that we have a time sensitive for 1 o'clock for most of us. So we're going to try to end right on time or early. And we are recording, so watch your P's and Q's. We are all entitled to our own opinions, and we want to have fun. The F word, the good F word that we can say. These round robin questions are just a helpful guideline. You can use your time to speak about the book however you'd like, but some things to help you think about what to talk about. Overall helpfulness, is it relevant to your audience? Meaning, if you're a manager, is it relevant to people you work with? If you are a consultant, is it relevant to your clients? Your ability to put it into action. So was the content good? And if so, can you do anything with it? Maybe how it compared to other books that you've read. Was there a favorite quote or point that was made in it? And you can also talk about what you didn't like about it. And then we'll do kind of a thumbs up, thumbs down at the end to see if we want to possibly read this book again. Keeping in mind it's not on audio. So we have 3 levels of support to join the group. So we encourage people to join as members, totally free. That just lets us know who's here, who we might expect to show up. And we can send you emails and let you know when we're meeting or if we have any other announcements to make. At supporter level, that helps us pay for administrative costs, which I would like to say Sherry, who is our virtual assistant currently, she is on maternity leave. She just had a C-section 2 days ago. So yay, Sherry. Hopefully I haven't heard from her yet. So hopefully all is well and she's doing well. And then sponsor, you get to not only support the group, but get some shout outs back. And as the book club grows, be a contributor to that. So here are our sponsors currently and our supporters. So Dr. Tanya Eastman, Lisa Sears with Brass Rings, who's here, Jerry Nolan, who is just arrived. Hi, Jerry. And Barb Stone, Robin McKenney, and Jody Hatch, who is here but is currently driving. And then thank you all to our supporters. And let's see. So our goal, we still haven't made it quite to our goal of being able to fund a first-time literacy project or publishers, and then also a literacy foundation, but we will get there over time. Just want to be transparent about what our goals are. Our next book is one we did read last year. So remember, sometimes we were trying to repeat the books that we've read so we can really, really take deep dives on them. It is What I Know for Sure, should be both in quotes, by Oprah Winfrey. Y'all know who that is. And that discussion will be Thursday, August 26th at the same time. And that's it. So we can do our quick introductions. I'm Laura Thorne, and I'm a doer of many things, including business consulting, currently trying to write the book On the Role Model Way, trying to hit stop share while I'm talking. And I love being part of this group because you all are inspiring to me and keep me motivated and definitely help me reading books, which I think really is important to being a role model leader, to continually to learn and to learn new ideas. So this book club is important to me, and I wouldn't be reading these books without you guys holding me accountable to it. So with that, I'll hand it over to partner in crime in leading the book club, Lisa Sears.
I am Lisa Sears. I used to get pretty specific about who I help, but now I think I just help a bunch of people all over the place. So I'm a coach and a consultant. I really just love to take, one of the reasons I love to read is to take information like that, simplify it, help other people use tools without actually having to read the book. So I also love that we have to read these books once a month, and then I just keep pulling. It's amazing each book we read how much I pull tools from, and so just really enjoying seeing everybody once a month has been great too. I will pass it on to Kim.
Hi, everybody. Kim Tapley. I work in the environmental regulatory field. I love being a part of this book club as well. It forces me to read books that I normally wouldn't read. These aren't the books that I normally would go to the store and think, oh, this will be fun. But they're great because I learned so much. And the best part for me about my leadership role is I have the ability to share what I've learned with other people. And it just makes our organization so much better when we have that constant flow of information. So it's something that I absolutely love. And I will turn it over to Jerry.
Thank you, Kim. I am Jerry Nolan, and I professionally help people with their finances predominantly, but it ends up being very broad, and I feel like I am always a student and always a teacher and always a mom and always a daughter and always the extreme opposites of every spectrum, which is great. And I love it. I love growing, developing, collaborating with fun, mostly women. I can say that because we're all women today. And I love reading, and I love reading things that, again, I wouldn't pick also. And it's really fun, and I'm very appreciative, and I am happy to be with you all. I see Barry.
Hi all, I'm Barry Prianto. So I work in the financial sector like Jerry. I work for an insurance brokerage firm and actually just went through a recent job role change. So I went from leading a team as a designated leader to now being a part of a team, but not in a leadership role. So this book couldn't have come at a better time, actually. So I just transitioned to being in a marketing role after figuring out some of the things I'm really passionate about. So yeah, I also really enjoy being a part of any book club, but this one has forced me to get out of my comfort zone a little bit and definitely read books that I normally wouldn't have picked off the shelf. And also it's been nice to have others pick out the books for you so that you don't have to do a ton of research. So that's been, as a relatively busy mom, that's been a nice change for me. So I will pass this now on to Nicole.
Hi, I'm Nicole Simmons, and I am the owner of Relationship Matters here in Syracuse, New York, where I teach, coach, mentor people in learning the nurtured heart approach, which I am very passionate about. And I love this book club. Every month, I am so grateful that Tanya invited me to come join this book club, because for the past several years, I've had yearly goals. I'm going to read 5 books a year, 6 books a year, whatever, but there's nobody helping me with that. It's just me being held, me holding myself accountable, which is not always easy. So I too, like so many people have said, I love that the books we've been reading are definitely books I would have not picked. Most of them are books I would have not picked or even been aware of, honestly. And it's really important to me to see a book through to the end. So even if I'm struggling through part of it, I'm really determined to finish it, which I've been appreciative for. So this group is great, and I love all of it. So thanks. And I'll pass it on to Jody.
Hi, maybe I'll do.
I'm
okay.
I'm
gonna do an intro for you, Jody.
Lisa.
No, you go.
My name is Jody Hatch. I do a lot of consulting in small business development, specific to businesses in agriculture. And I very much enjoy being part of this book club. I always, like many of you have said, I take tools, things I've learned from it, and can offer that to other people in their businesses to use. So looking forward to hearing what everybody thinks about this one. And I can't see who's next because I'm just hit the unmute button. So no Lisa, worries. Can you pass it to someone?
Good news, you were last.
Okay.
All right, thanks everyone. It's so good to see all of you. And yeah, so anybody want to go first on this book? burning thoughts? Barry, you said it was a good time for you.
Yeah, I'll go first, especially since I've got 2 kids home with me today. So like I'm just biding my time until someone charges into my bedroom and like hiding out upstairs. Yeah, I thought that, so I didn't finish the book, so I'll be transparent about that. I'm probably midway through. And like I had said before, that I had led a team, ranged between 4 to 10 people, depending on the year. And one of the reasons why I joined this book club was because, I really wanted to develop my leadership skills. I cared so much about, the individuals on my team and to really be a strong leader within our organization. But it's kind of ironic that as I made a transition in July from leading up a team to deciding that I want to take a break from the designated leader role and really explore something I'm more passionate about in terms of the day-to-day tasks that I'm doing, and moved into a marketing role. Actually, the first real marketing role that our organization has had. So it's been fun with Lisa, to actually develop a role, have a clean slate and develop my own role. But so this book couldn't have really come at a better time, because while I'm not, I don't even want to say like in the spotlight as a leader, I no longer have that title of manager or whatnot. There is still so much opportunity to lead, regardless of the role or position or title that you have. And I think that this book, I love that it tells the stories of those in those roles that are actually making challenging decisions and how they navigate those decisions, because it's not always black and white how to do that. So I like that it provides those tools. I hope, I'm not sure if it will get into how you can lead quietly and make an impact, a systemic change on a broader scale. Because I think I see that there's a ton of opportunity for that within my own day-to-day, but I love the tools that they've provided thus far, and to slow down, that you have those mixed emotions going into decision making, that it's okay, that it's not like a very clear path every time, and that it's okay to have those mixed emotions. So yeah, I found it really useful, and also it kind of validated those feelings of, oh my God, if I'm not in a role with a title of being a leader of an organization, like, will people still see me as that? And the reason why I have always wanted to be a strong leader and try to lead with compassion is because I want to make change for people that I care about, not for fame and glory and all that stuff, because that really doesn't matter to me. So I'm excited to actually continue on with the book and see what else is in there. And yes, sidebar, I do think that it probably would have, bless you, Lisa, would have finished that had it been an Audible. But I felt there were many a times where I was like, what did I just read on that page, and needed to reread it. So I think that it's not that it's a slow read whatsoever. I think it's just been, when I would read it, I was probably tired, and had it been an Audible, it probably would have helped me move faster through it.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just have such a hard time.
So opposite of y'all. I hate
I know.
I cannot, my brain will not comprehend when someone is talking. I have to see it in print.
Yeah, that's so funny.
That's how my husband is. And he also, like, he doesn't like to get like Kindle books. Like, he can't see it on a screen. And I'm like, do we have the space for all these books? Like, now you gotta just keep moving them out. I know you know what I'm talking about, Lisa, like little book hoarder over there. It becomes a problem when you have that many. So the Audible, and I feel like the Kindle, is something that just, as people, there's just not enough space. And as we look at like going on trips and things like that. It's so much nicer to have that just on your phone or on your laptop or tablet.
Books are like potato chips. You can never stop with one. You have to have stacks and stacks around the house. That's fun.
That's probably true. I like that.
I think to note on like the consumption piece, I think this book club has really helped me get, I'm a little crazy person, but I get a system around the books. Even if it's available on Audible, I still buy the Audible and buy the book because and so I'll listen to the Audible, make notes on my phone, and then I go in the book and like actually dog ear the pages where the tool is that I want. It's I think I'm like a combination of all of you, which seems crazy, but which is also, I think some of it's capacity. I think we all are really busy. And so when I don't have that Audible, what I realize is I really enjoy listening to books when I'm getting ready in the morning, which so many people are like, that's not a good thing. You need to like get ready and be quiet. Like Brian's always like, what are you doing? And I'm like, actually, I really enjoy consuming that fresh start in the morning. I actually like will find myself standing in the shower with the Audible and be like, oh, I actually have to like move on. But it feels like an alone time for me. So I struggle as well reading. The other tool that I found is every book I found SoundView, which I really like. They have executive summaries. So like Kim, you said you couldn't, like you read the book so early because you're a good student of it, and then you forget. They're usually like 8 to 10 page executive summaries that I love. So they really like, I will circle the tools. I will make notes on that.
What's it called again?
It's called SoundView. There's a ton of different companies that do them, but I like SoundView in particular gets a little bit more in depth for me. So, it gets to more key points instead of like a high level kind of bulleted, but I find that really helpful as well. Since we're talking about how do we get it done.
I'm not surprised at all that you've systematized it and put tools around it and all of that. I like to read. I don't see the difference between like listening to talk radio or a podcast. Like I could listen to an audiobook just the same. And then, I'm on my book writing sabbatical for the Role Model Way. And I have found that listening to an audiobook for a little bit before I start writing gets my brain going. It kind of wakes me up a little bit and throws some more ideas into my head. Hopefully not any plagiaristic ones, but it still just kind of like sets the tone and the mood for me to be thinking about these concepts. So Kim, did you want to go into your thoughts on the book that you can recall?
Yeah, that I can recall.
I know that you'll still be good.
First, I do want to comment on something that Barry said. I have been in this agency for a number of years, and I only recently became the title of a manager, maybe 5 years ago. And before that, I still considered myself a leader because you lead by example and you help. I love sharing information and finding efficiencies and working together as a team. So I adopted the phrase, leadership is a decision. Leadership is not a position. So it's not a title. And I try to instill that to everybody in my group because it's so accurate. And I don't like to work for people who just like to have leadership in their title, because then I'm not going to learn anything from them because they're just there for the title. So I just wanted to let you know that's kind of my philosophy. For this book, it was so interesting, the timing wise when I got it. So I try to buy the books on Amazon, free shipping and all, but I've really gotten into purchasing them from local bookstores, not technically Tampa local, but independent booksellers. And so I got a big Amazon gift card for Christmas, and I just went ahead and bought all the books. And I ended up getting the hard copy from, I can't remember, some small bookstore in Oregon. And I'm flipping through it, and inside is a letter on White House stationery. And my book came in January, shortly after the insurrection. So I thought it was really interesting. And it was a letter addressed to someone saying that she would benefit from this book and it's signed by Barry Black, and he is the office of the chaplain. He's the chaplain for the United States Senate is what it was. And he was actually the chaplain that was there at the insurrection in January. I thought, oh my gosh, if this wasn't meant to me, then I needed to read this book. It was fantastic. And then at the beginning of July, it's all coming back to me now, I have this really big conference next week, and I'm doing a big presentation on how coronavirus has reshaped the way regulatory agencies perform their work, how we still protect the wetlands or other. This conference I'm going to is statewide, so it's a bunch of different resources that we protect. But I needed to write this speech, and the first couple chapters in this book helped me put into words how we needed to restructure our frame of mind and how we were going to move forward in the pandemic to still get the job done, but still look out for our staff to make sure they're protected from COVID. And I have a ton of note cards that I used from this book that I would write down different things. I'm still working on that presentation, but I think it was a fantastic book to help formalize my words and thoughts for everything that had transpired for COVID. So that's one of the main takeaways that I liked from this book, was that he goes into that you have to be very methodical when making these large decisions, kind of like a scientist, where you need to gather all your facts. And then once you have that, then that's when you go to make your decisions. And so as a scientist background, that's what we do all the time. So putting that into context when dealing with these leadership decisions, I like that thought process. And especially when we're trying to do all this with COVID, I think it's a great book for that. I will say the one thing that I did not like is that military story about the inspectors that weren't doing their job. I think if it was any other organization, it would have been okay. But when you're dealing with an organization in this specific unit or these types of units where it's life or death because they're emergency response units, I don't think that's acceptable. I don't think just telling one person and walking away that's not what I would have done. I would have fought it, because that would be unethical in my mind to allow that continue to happen, because if something were to go wrong and people were to die, that's a huge issue. So that was the one story that I really did not agree with. But other than that, I liked the book. Obviously, I'm already utilizing it if I'm going to be using it in my speech next week. So then that's it. That's my summary. I give it a thumbs up.
Thanks, Kim. Good takeaways as always, and everyone loves your quote. I've already been thinking I need to talk to you for some quotes for my book, so that'll be a good excuse to talk to you again offline in another situation. Yeah, I agree with a lot of the things that you said. I thought that's as far as I got, was past that example from the military, and I was thinking the same thing. I was like, why would you? I would have went straight and said, that inspection didn't actually happen. Even I was thinking of the lab. This book really gave me flashbacks to working at EPC, because to me it could have been titled like The Trials and Tribulations of Working in Middle Management, How to Survive Middle Management. I don't know. I think I kind of feel the title was misleading. I didn't feel that I learned, I was thinking more quiet as in humble leadership, not like quiet as in not seen. So, anyway, Nicole or Jerry, would you like to chime in?
Again, so I did not finish the book. I actually, for some reason, ended up buying it late. I think I took a little vacation early July, and that was awesome and horrible. And it was awesome, but trying to catch up is horrible. And I could not get a new one. So I ended up getting a used one or a pre-owned that had someone else's name and notes and highlights and lines. And I tried not to get completely distracted by his thoughts. But it's funny because when you said you were thinking humble as opposed to unseen, I was also, but in my experience, this did remind me of a lot of leaders that I have a lot of respect for, and I feel like they actually fall into both categories to a certain degree, humble and quiet. And I found it also interesting as far as I got. I am going to finish reading it, and I think it is worthwhile. I think that probably the most important thing for me is, first of all, I'm not sure, maybe Barry said it, but just knowing that everything isn't like a right or a wrong decision, and that everybody enters into things everything's always like complicated. It's not just, if it were due north, that would be easy. That was the right answer, but it's not. So it's complicated. And I think for me, and Lisa probably will attest to this, it's fairly, to me, the message is everything is slow down. And I'm not always great at that. So I feel like it's definitely thought-provoking, beneficial, giving me some ideas. I'm not sure exactly how I'll use it, but it's definitely thought-provoking and interesting and giving me ideas, and I would recommend it. There's a strong, pretty much. And that's really it, because I did not get, I didn't get far enough. I want to say I'm maybe 40%. But I am going to finish it, and I am going to order the next one now. So yeah, not the strongest. Oh, and I just was going to mention that it's so interesting the way some people are super strong and comfortable with the Audible, and others just absolutely have to have the book and paper. And Lisa's a little bit of everybody, and I am also, but like I love to read, and I love to have paper and spend the time in the book. But what I've done with a couple of them, especially Think Like a Monk and Big Magic, is that I did both. And what I'll do is, just when I'm driving in the car, depending on what I'm kind of looking for, I will just like randomly, I'm in the middle of Think Like a Monk and Big Magic again, and I'll just randomly plug one on, and inevitably I will get, some sort of a message or a thought or whatever, and just kind of go with it. So I'm excited about next month's. I have not read that, and it sounds like that will be a great one. So that's my kind of mixed message, but
you might want the Audible, because you're going to want to hear Oprah.
Oh, for sure. It's like Jay Shetty. You can listen to his voice all day long. I love his voice, that. Yeah. Anyway, yes, I will definitely get the Audible and the book for sure. So I believe, Nicole.
Yeah, Jerry, thank you for that suggestion, because it has never occurred to me to go back to a book really after I've read it, other than to maybe flip through the pages to see what I've highlighted if I need a moment of inspiration. But I'm a paper girl too, all the way. I have to highlight and dog ear and post-it notes and all that stuff. But I love the suggestion of listening to, one of the other books on Audible just when I'm getting ready in the morning or driving in the car. I'm going to do that. And the 2 books you listed, I'm totally doing that, because Think Like a Monk, I dog-eared so much, it's ridiculous. So I think I was I probably shouldn't have started reading this book when I did, because I was in Georgia visiting my family and I was laying out in the beautiful hot sun next to the pool, and my brain could just not wrap around. Like, I was really having a hard time. I was reading and rereading and trying to absorb, and it just wasn't getting through. But then I came home and read the second half of it once I was home. And, I was thinking, it doesn't really apply to me. I'm not really feeling these messages. But I actually am finding myself in a really significant situation with my work and in my field. And the last part of the book really landed for me. And I am really grateful and appreciative for the messages to, kind of like slow down. Like Jerry, my tendency is to react quickly and not necessarily think through and reflect and discuss and so I appreciated definitely the last part of the book and the messages about just nudging and testing. And I appreciated too the message that, like somebody already said, situations are complicated, and it's not usually a right or wrong, black and white kind of scenario, and there's lots of things to consider. So I appreciated how he put that. And the stories for sure did it for me. I am not a textbook reading kind of gal at all. Like, if it's just straight content, it doesn't do it for me. So thank God for the stories, because that helped land it for me and kept me engaged. And I'm like, okay, yes, all right, I get it. So yeah, I would give it a side thumb. Can we do that? Side thumb? Yeah, I would give it a side thumb. I won't read it again, but there were things that I circled and highlighted and dog-eared. So I'm definitely walking away with something. So yeah, that's my 2 cents.
Good. Yeah, we can side thumb things, especially, this is, read it again. Maybe not, definitely not reading again.
Maybe it's heading that way. I'm not sure.
I don't know. I'm interested now to get to the end to see what resonated with you. So I'll at least try to keep going. For me, it really just, like I said, I'm not in middle management anymore. That doesn't mean I'm not having to make moral and ethical decisions or anything like that. But I really feel like this would have been a good read for me years ago and could have been helpful just to know that, like, what to expect, and to know that having the part about people seeing your motives mixed, not necessarily, you might know exactly what your motives are, but the fact that other people will interpret them differently, in hindsight, I think is huge. Would have been good to realize and to just have that on the radar during certain decisions when you are in the middle trying to do what's right for your employees, but also, do what's being demanded of you from your superiors. So I think that, I had a hard time relating to the book as it is now, but in the past, I definitely would have a lot more. I did find it a little bit cynical too at some points, like saying that it almost, to me at least, the message seemed to be that the only way you can make these decisions is to compromise, or it seemed encouraging to like give white lies. And I don't know that that's necessarily true, but it seemed like it was saying that quiet leaders are always doing that or something. And I don't think that's necessarily always the case, but other than that, I think it's just very helpful for other people to see sort of behind the scenes what happens and what it's like when you do have to make a decision that's, a lot of times at this point I only read 2 examples, and they were both women too, having to make some decisions that might have been judged a little differently if they were men. So I'd be interested to hear some more about what the perspective from the author would be is if they were different persons in those situations or whatever. So I don't know, since I only got, like I said, about halfway, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on it. So Lisa, I think you're up.
Oh dear. I think there's a lot of like sparked things that come up. I love when Barry was saying, like, so she's a part of a team that I'm on in CAFL. And I wanted to mention a book that I used to give all of my teams as they developed, which was You Don't Need a Title to Be a Leader by Mark Sandburn. he's the Fred Factor. I don't know if you've ever read Fred Factor, but they're like those shorter books that are really great for people in like customer service roles and just your front facing client engagement. But it was one of the things I love to kind of develop my team with, was saying, we're all leaders here. I might be leading this. And where the book kind of took me was in a couple different directions. So I'm also reading, we did the Trusted Advisor last year. I'm taking that team and that organization through the Trusted Advisor monthly. We kind of picked it apart, and we're talking about leading with trust. And some of the things that kind of came up for me in this was not only some recent, but some past struggles I've had with compromise, my own versus somebody else's needs, and decisions that are made if I don't know the big picture. I think it's easy for us, if we see from above, to have people like that. There's going to be some judgment when you don't know all the things that go into a decision. And I've really struggled with that in the past. There was a couple statements where I think trust came in for me. So I love that there was a lot around compromise, but also quiet leaders proceed very carefully with those whose trust they know they will never earn. Was very, like, I think when I think about that statement, I was like, ooh, like, what do I do? Like, I can't work in an organization where someone doesn't trust me. But then I think about the tools I can create to communicate more or bring more, even if I'm never going to earn that person's trust in their role. Like, how do I just make it a better experience for my team, still being able to advocate for somebody on my team when the trust piece maybe isn't there? I thought that was interesting. I've also left a couple roles where I was really struggling with some of the, like, with my own trust of the leadership. And it went back and forth about, like, your own motives versus others, and self-protection and your job. And it really made me think about, the statement was protect their positions. So the leader must also look out for themselves, protect their positions, and stay at the table so they can continue to lead. And I was like, oh man, but I left. And some of it was, I mean, self-protection. I needed to leave. One of them was a very toxic situation. So I think some of that self-protection came into place. But also knowing as a leader, if you can't move the dial immediately, like, just it's almost good enough if you just stay at the table for that team. And that's an important piece too. And then, Jerry, we're going to roll right into what our fixers do. Like, a lot of this around, I think, like, the white lies were really around time management too, where it was kind of heightened with, like, oh, I'm busy, can I push this off? And I've had this discussion with Jen, my sister, about when we're fixers and we try to fix things, we get really, like, unsettled in, like, upsetting situations. And she's had a couple with some engagements, and she's like, how do I like, I don't have the answer to that. And I'm like, oh my gosh, but that's a fixer mentality. Like, if you really, I wrote down team and time and methodical. And so I think taking the time to say to somebody, I wouldn't do the white lie. I'd be like, I need time to think about that. And I've been teaching my sister to say in client engagements, you know what, this is really tough for all of us. I have some immediate thoughts, but I'm gonna step away. We all need about 24 hours, and I'm gonna bring a tool. I'd love you to bring something conversational too. And it just gives her, like, that release to not in that moment feel like she has to be that fixer or have an answer. But when it came to, like, team and timeline, the other part that I really liked was around like, just engaging the rest of, like, enlist the assistance of others. And I think I've shifted a lot. I think, Barry and I have shifted a lot of one-on-ones with our teams, and adding her to the team in this new role to more collaborative conversations. And it reminded me, I really wanted to have, like, the answer for all of them. I love this team. I really want them to all be successful. So it's like that timeline. How do I slow down their progress and be okay with their progress? But how do I also not feel I have to, as a leader, own their progress. And it was a simple shift of getting them in the same room and having them talk about it. I just was holding space for them. We've made so much more progress this past month than I think we did the first 6 months of this year. So it's like, how do you slow down some of that timeline of decision making? Be okay that you're not going to, maybe to somebody above, that you're not going to have the result immediately that they're looking for. And you might get a lot of questioning, but really sticking, as for me, that quiet leadership is almost like sticking to my plan. So I have a plan for this year, and if somebody kind of wants to be like, what's going on? We're not where we need to be. What does your end look like? Saying it's okay. I'm confident in some of the things that I'm doing, and we'll have to see where those results end. And so trusting myself, I think too. But I loved like that methodical feel of it. I feel like I just talked a lot. I have a lot of notes. I think this book couldn't have come at a better time for me, with kind of, I'm always trying to adjust what my consulting engagements look like and how deep I go into them. And so how do I be more of a quiet leader when sometimes I'm not in them full time? So how do I also bring that? I'm not going to know a lot of the stuff that goes on if I'm not in the day to day, and I'm asked to do some consulting. So it really made me kind of shift my consulting mindset of like, immediately I might, have this like knee-jerk reaction, like, oh, here's this tool, or here's something we could walk through. And instead, then I talk to the next person on that team that I'm not in, and I get a different lens. So really, I think I've done a pretty good job, but it was a total reset for me to say, hey, we've got it. Quiet leaders don't do that immediate thing. Like quiet leaders are like, okay, I'm going to ask more questions or dig in. So I think those are kind of like the key points for me, but it's also fun to look at our book club. And I think not everyone in our tight, when I think about everybody that's there, a lot of people aren't in leadership positions, but I feel like when they show up to this book club, you feel leadership. And that's like a really, I think, just owning your learning and reading books is a part of leadership, but you feel that quiet leader in so many of the members of this group. So it's kind of fun to think about it that way. Did I ramble?
You shared some good insights.
I like my notes. And I'm like, don't talk too much. Get it out. There's a lot from this book where I really, as a leader, was like, oh, that was a helpful reset. Oh, yep. Confirmation.
You always do a really good job at pulling the stuff out and then bring it into your practical work. So it's good to see those examples. You and Kim also.
So I'm going to give my 2 cents on this book.
Yay!
Hey, Jode.
I think, leading quietly, it was about doing the things you need to do, let's say, behind the scenes, right? It doesn't always have to be big and in your face. And I think it just brought attention to each of us, whether you have the title or not, on how you're bringing common sense or simplicity to complex situations. And so I think, sometimes being able to not have that knee-jerk reaction and seeing the bigger picture and asking questions and being able to hold space for people on your team, whether you're their leader or not, so that you understand as much as you can. I think, to me, that's what resonated in each of the stories. And it wasn't like, I wouldn't use the word compromise in any of their decision making. I think it was like, you kind of have to weigh each, call it avenue, but what is the book or what we reference, you can't have a 10 in every area, right? And so you kind of have to weigh pros and cons with different people. Like, if I do it, it's very strategic. I think this type of leadership is very strategic. It's like, okay, if I make a move over here, it's going to affect something over here, and then it could affect something here. So being able to step back and understand as many pieces as you can, so that when you do make a move, as a leader, it's very, I hate to use the word calculated in it. It's not a negative way, but it's very well thought out. that's what I took away from leading quietly, is that you understand the moves and the effects that they're going to have on the members that you're involved with. I would give it a sideways. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Yeah, that feels like a general consensus. Any other final comments? I think we're going to try to wrap this one up just a little bit early. There's some good side chat happening.
Oh, by the way, everyone, this is Mia.
Hi.
Mia, say hi.
Hi, Mia.
Hi, Mia.
She's homesick today.
Oh,
Um,
feel better, Mia.
Thanks.
All right. Well, you got Mia to attend to. Others of us have meetings, and
She gave it a
others-
thumbs up, by the way.
Nice. It'll do her well to know these things in the future. Great to see everyone. Our next book is
What I Know for Sure.
yes.
Oprah.
Yes, Oprah, and this will be, I think, the third time I'll be reading it now. Yeah, I highly recommend the audiobook just to hear her put all of her into it. It's fantastic. But it's an easy read. So it won't hopefully stress anybody out too much. Actually, it should do the opposite. It's very calming, nice read, I think.
It's funny, I would never have picked this. Like, I was surprised a group picked this book to reread, and I wouldn't have reread it. And I'm kind of looking like this is going to get me out walking. Like, it'll be nice to like throw this on, and yeah.
Well, for those folks who read the hard copy version, it's divided into many sections, like 2-3 pages at a
Yep.
time. So it's super easy to just, read a little bit while you're cooking spaghetti on the stove, and then put it down, and then come back, and it's a super easy read in that respect.
Yes, absolutely. So hope you all enjoy that one. And anything else I'm forgetting, Lisa?
No, I think it's great. Just the date again. I think that's always, is it the
Yes.
last Thursday of the month?
Last Thursday, August 26th, this one is.
Great.
So great to see you all. We'll see you in another month.
All right. See you soon.
Thank you all.
Bye-bye.
This is the summer.
Bye.
Bye-bye.